Wait a minute. What just happened in Chicago might change everything you thought about this season. A first-round pick has been ignored by fantasy experts when they should be top picks. Plus, Ben Johnson just confessed he hasn't even shown half of what he has in store for this offense. And Ryan Poles might be eyeing a running back who could come for free or just a low draft pick. Stick with me because these 3 news items will blow your mind. If you don't subscribe now and leave a like, you'll miss the hottest news coming out of Chicago. And I guarantee that after this video, you'll understand why 2025 could be the year for the Bears. Folks, I'll start with a question that's keeping me up at night. How is it possible that Colston Loveland, the 10th overall pick in the 2025 draft, is being completely ignored in fantasy drafts? I believe we're witnessing the greatest value pick opportunity of the season right in front of us. The Bears invested a first-round pick in this tight end, who, folks, is literally a wide receiver in a tight end's body. And do you know what's more impressive? Ben Johnson is already using him as a central piece of the offense in preseason. Did you see that 18-yard touchdown against Buffalo? The guy moves like DJ Moore's size, but with a lineman's build. But let's talk concrete numbers here. Loveland is 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighs 240 pounds. That's basically the ideal size for a modern tight end. He combines the physicality needed to block linebackers with the agility to leave safeties eating dust. At the University of Michigan, he posted absurd numbers: 649 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns in his last season as a Wolverine. And here's what drives me completely nuts. Analysts are comparing Loveland to Sam Laporta. And guess who was the offensive coordinator who turned Laporta into an overnight star? Ben Johnson, the same guy who's now our head coach and has Loveland in his hands. I'll tell you this. Laporta was the 34th pick in the 2023 draft, a second-round tight end nobody expected much from. In his rookie season, he exploded: 86 receptions, 889 yards, and 10 touchdowns. He became the rookie tight end with the most receptions in NFL history. And that was with Johnson as the offensive coordinator in Detroit. Now, Johnson has a first-round tight end with even more athletic talent than Laporta. Do you think he won't use this weapon the same way? I believe we're about to see a historic season. But let's dive into the tactical details that make Loveland so special. Johnson likes to use tight ends in motion, creating mismatches all over the field. Loveland can line up as a slot receiver, as a traditional tight end, even split wide. He has the secure hands needed to be reliable in the red zone, but also the speed to make explosive plays in the middle of the field. What impresses me most is his ability to create separation. In the game against Buffalo, he not only had 26 yards on 2 receptions, he did it against a defense that was clearly focused on stopping him. The Bills knew Johnson was going to test his new toy, and still, Loveland managed to shine. And let's talk about the offensive context. Chicago has DJ Moore commanding one side, Rome Odunze on the other, Luther Burden as the slot receiver, and Cole Kmet is still on the roster. This means defenses can't double cover Loveland. He's going to have favorable matchups every week. Wow, what worries me a little, and I'll be honest with you, is that our receiver room is crowded. We have all these options, and Caleb Williams is still learning to distribute the ball. But do you know what I think? I believe this will just make Loveland even more unpredictable for opposing defenses. Zach Buckley from Bleacher Report made an important point. Don't draft Loveland as your primary T1. Use him as a backup, because the learning curve exists. But folks, do you remember what happened with Laporta? Nobody expected that rookie explosion, and whoever had the courage to bet on him won fantasy championships. The difference is this time we have all the warning signs. We have the same coach, we have even greater talent. We have an offense that promises to be even more explosive. And Loveland is still outside the top 100 in drafts. It's pure insanity. I ask you, when was the last time you saw a first-round tight end being completely ignored in fantasy drafts? Especially one being coached by the guy who created the best rookie tight end of the past decade. And if you thought you'd already seen the best of Ben Johnson's attack, you're completely wrong. Folks, pay attention to what Johnson told Kay Adams this week, because it should send chills down the spines of every NFC North team. He admitted that the 38-0 rout of Buffalo was done using the same preseason game plan from the last 4 years. You heard right. 38 points using recycled material. But let's contextualize this bomb Johnson dropped. He literally said that Lions players laughed when they saw Chicago running the same plays they used to run in Detroit. And you know why? Because they were exactly the same basic preseason plays Johnson used to test concepts. I ask you, if Johnson can achieve this offensive explosion by dusting off old plays, imagine what he's got in store for the regular season. I'll tell you this. Packers, Vikings, and Lions should be worried. Let's analyze what really happened in that game against Buffalo. Chicago completed 24 of 32 passes for 283 yards and 3 touchdowns through. The air. On the ground, they amassed 188 yards on 31 attempts. That's a balanced attack that worked in every situation. Caleb Williams played only the first half and was flawless. 13 of 17 passes. 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. His quarterback rating was 144.4, practically perfect. And that was with a basic game plan. What impresses me most is the ease with which this attack is working. After years of watching Chicago struggle to move the ball, suddenly we have fluidity, creativity, open players everywhere. And Johnson still says, we haven't started fighting yet. But here's what really gets me excited. Johnson has a proven track record of saving his best plays. In Detroit, he was famous for saving special concepts for crucial moments. Remember the 2023 season when the Lions had that winning streak. Johnson was constantly surprising defenses with formations and concepts no one had seen. On film, do you remember the days of Matt Nagy, where every drive felt like torture? Nagy had his 20 best plays that he used regardless of the situation. Johnson is the complete opposite. He adapts his game plan to exploit exactly what the opposing defense can't stop. I think we're seeing the difference between having a mediocre play caller and having one of the brightest offensive minds in the NFL. Johnson took this same group of players, Williams, Moore, Kmet, and in a few weeks transformed everything. And let's talk about Johnson's philosophy. He mentioned in the interview that he likes to distribute the ball to as many players as possible. This means we won't see DJ Moore receiving 15 targets per game while others are forgotten. Johnson will use all the talents at his disposal. This is revolutionary for Chicago. How many times have we seen the Bears waste talent due to lack of offensive creativity? Now we have a guy who turned Amon-Ra St. Brown into an all-pro, who made Sam Laporta break rookie records, who created one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL with a roster that wasn't even better than our current one. But here comes my deeper analysis. Is Johnson being too modest? Does he really have more ammunition stored, or is he just playing mind games with the media? Based on his history in Detroit, I'll tell you, I'd rather believe we haven't seen anything yet. Remember, Johnson was the offensive coordinator who took Detroit from one of the worst offenses in the league to one of the best in just 2 seasons. He did this by developing players other teams had discarded, creating mismatches no one could predict, always keeping defenses guessing, and now he has even more talent to work with. Williams is more mobile than Jared Goff. Moore is more explosive than any receiver Johnson had in Detroit. The tight end group is deeper. The offensive line has more potential. If this 38-0 route was just a teaser using old plays, imagine the feast that awaits us when Johnson opens his full arsenal. I think we're about to see something special. And to close with a golden key, we have Ryan Poles once again showing why he might be the best GM Chicago has had in decades. Brian Robinson Jr. is on the market, and guess who's on the list of interested parties? Folks, I'll be direct. Our backfield situation isn't inspiring anyone. DeAndre Swift is a talented runner, but he's never been known for durability. In 6 NFL seasons, he's played 16 full games only once. Kyle Monaghan is promising, but is an undrafted rookie. And the rest? Ian Wheeler, Roshan Johnson, Travis Homer, they're all backups nobody would trust as starters. Meanwhile, Washington wants to get rid of a guy who rushed for 799 yards and 8 touchdowns in 2024. Robinson had an average of 4.3 yards per carry last season, showing he still has plenty of fuel in the tank at 26 years old. But here's what excites me more. Robinson can come for free. If Washington can't trade him, they'll have to release him. And then Poles can simply sign him as a free agent. That would be the kind of smart move that separates a mediocre GM from a genius one. Let's analyze Robinson's numbers more deeply. In his 3 NFL seasons, he accumulated 570 carries for 2,329 yards, a solid average of 4.1 yards per attempt. He scored 15 rushing touchdowns, showing he's reliable in the red zone. And most importantly, he's durable. In 2 of the last 3 seasons, he played 15 or more games. What impresses me most about Robinson is his physical style of play. He's the kind of runner Chicago needs to complement Swift. While Swift is more elusive and explosive, Robinson is the guy who can get the tough yards between the tackles, who breaks tackles, who punishes defenses in the fourth quarter. Ask you, do you think it's worth trading a 4th-round pick for Robinson? The Bleacher Report projection suggests Chicago would send a 2026 4th-rounder plus Ryan Bates to Washington. I think that's too expensive, but a 6th or 7th rounder. Now that's more like it. Or better yet, wait for him to be released and grab him for free. And here's where Poles' genius shines. He's not the kind of GM who makes desperate moves. Remember how he handled the free agency market. He waited for the right opportunities, didn't overpay for any player, and still put together a competitive roster. The timing is also perfect. Washington is in rebuild mode, trying to clear cap space and accumulate draft picks. They've drafted rookies in the backfield and want to see what they got. Robinson, with just 1 year left on his contract, doesn't make sense for their long-term plans. But for Chicago, Robinson would be perfect. He knows the NFC East Division, which is physical like the NFC North. He's already proven he can produce even against defenses stacked against the run. And at 26, he's still in his prime. Imagine this backfield. Swift as the main runner, explosive and versatile. Robinson as the power back, ideal for short yardage and clock management situations. Monagai as the 3rd runner, learning from 2 experienced veterans. This would give Johnson options for any game situation. And let's talk about schematic fit. Johnson likes to use multiple formations, including sets with 2 running backs. Robinson has experience as an improvised fullback, can play on special teams, and is a solid blocker. Skills Swift doesn't possess at the same level. What impresses me is how Poles is always 1 step ahead. While other GMs make desperate moves, he waits for the right opportunities. Robinson is 26 years old, knows what it's like to play in a physical division, and would be the perfect complement to Swift. If we can get Robinson for a low pick, or as a free agent, we'll be talking about one of the best backfields in the NFC. Swift for explosion and versatility, Robinson for power and reliability, Monagai for the future. Johnson would have all the tools necessary to build a ground game that would perfectly complement his aerial attack. Imagine this complete offense. Caleb Williams in command, DJ Moore and Rome Odunze on the edges, Loveland creating mismatches in the middle, and Robinson giving the physical punch we need in the ground game. I'll tell you, that would be devastating for any NFC North defense. Folks, do you realize how these 3 news items fit together perfectly? It's no coincidence that all this is happening at the same time. Johnson is building a multi-dimensional offense where each piece has its specific role. Loveland as the mismatch, creator in the middle of the field, Moore and Odunze as the deep threats on the edges, Swift as the explosive runner, Robinson as the reliable power back, Burden as the versatile slot receiver. This is the kind of depth that allows Johnson to use all his creativity. He can put 5 receivers on the field in one play and on the next. Snap used 2 tight ends with 2 running backs. The defenses will never know what to expect. And Poles, he's building exactly the kind of roster Johnson needs to succeed. He's not making flashy or expensive moves. He's identifying values, seizing opportunities, building smart depth at every position. So tell me in the comments, do you think Loveland will be the steal of the 2025 fantasy draft? Is Ben Johnson really keeping more surprises, or is he just playing with the media? And about Brian Robinson, is it worth trading for him, or better to wait for him to be released? I'll tell you one thing. These 3 news items show that Chicago is not just improving, it's revolutionizing. Johnson is bringing a completely new mindset. Poles is making smart moves, and players like Loveland are ready to explode. If you want to understand how each piece of this puzzle fits together, if you want to be the first to identify the next opportunities, if you want to be part of this revolution happening in Chicago, you need to subscribe to this channel now, guys. These 3 news items show exactly why you can't go a day without following this channel. Chicago is moving pieces, planning plays, and building something special for 2025. And don't forget to leave a like because it helps me bring more exclusive content to you. Share with other Bears fans because everyone needs to know what's happening. See you in the next video, and remember, bear down, Chicago! The revolution has started and you don't want to be left out.